Thanks very much, Caitlin. I'm now joined by a member of the Senate Democratic Conference who is particularly invested in passage of a property tax cap. Senator Craig Johnson represents parts of Nassau County on Long Island. He's joining us this evening from Hofstra University. Senator, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Liz. Good evening.
So the governor today put out a property tax cap piece in his new revenue bill. It was not well received by the leadership of your House nor of the Assembly. What was your feeling about this proposal?
You know, we're still taking a look at it. My staff and I are reviewing the proposal. There are a lot of great things in the proposal. The governor has certainly made some changes to the last revenue bill. We were very happy to see that he finally listened to us about taking out the hedge fund tax that he was trying to impose, that he proposed back in December. But, you know, what we really like to see in it is the property tax cap. And, Liz, you know that I've been calling on the governor to do this for a while now. I've asked him previous extenders when he could have done it, and he didn't do it. He put it into a last extender, which forced the parties to finally start moving on the budget. And now he's put forth this bill today. What I'm hopeful about is that this is a part of a negotiation process between our House and the governor and hopefully the Assembly, because unfortunately the Assembly seems to be a sticking point when it comes to this issue as well as others.
Well, actually, Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver has had some harsh words for you, if I remember in the past. You asked the governor to, we've spoken to you actually on this show, you asked the governor to put the cap into the budget extender bill, which would have forced the legislature to choose between shutting down the government and passing this unpopular thing. Excuse me. And Speaker Silver said he didn't really think it was your place to tell the governor what to do, and he wasn't really, he's not interested in the property tax cap.
Well, it's unfortunate. I think that, and I have great respect for the Speaker, but the Speaker needs to also listen to not just, the Senate Republicans and Senate Democrats who have voted on this and passed it in the Senate, but he should also listen to members of his own conference who have pushed for a property tax cap. I think what New Yorkers want to see is action. What New Yorkers don't want to see and are tired of hearing about, like I'm tired of hearing about, is all this fighting. It's time to put it aside, put a bill on the floor, both in the Senate and in the Assembly, and let's get a property tax cap passed finally.
You know, the governor's bill actually exempts the big 5 cities, and I just wonder if that's okay with you. That doesn't affect your district, of course, but would that be, that might be maybe a sweetener for some of your colleagues. The conference is, in fact, dominated by New York City interests, and so maybe that's a sweetener to try and move this thing along.
Well, remember, the property taxes do not fund the New York City school system, for instance.
Right.
Property taxes, are the biggest funder for local governments. It's a big problem out here. Not just our school taxes, but our counties, our towns, our villages. Our village mayors have been raising taxes for a while now, and it's a real problem. A property tax cap at the school level, as well as the county, town, and village level, is an appropriate tool to help keep our property taxes in check.
But that's actually...
I would hope that a...
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue.
Go ahead, Liz.
No, I'm just...
I was simply going to say that...
Continue,
ladies first.
Craig.
Ladies first.
I was just going to say that in New Jersey, actually, that's not what happened. You know, they had a compromise bill in New Jersey that we just found out about today in the newspapers, because, of course, we're not covering New Jersey politics as closely as we might, but that it's a 2% cap on local government taxes. That's not exactly what you're talking about, and that was a compromise.
Right. Well, you also have to remember, in reading the piece, that in New Jersey, it's a 2% with a lot of exemptions. So that's at the end of the day, the 2% may be a little bit higher. And there's a lot of stark differences between the 2% that was enacted by a New Jersey legislature, and I joined the governor in congratulating the legislature and the governor for getting it done, and what we're proposing, which is a 4%. Now, going back to your issue about the sweetener, sure, I think it's appropriate that we've pulled out the big 5. But again, what we're talking about here and looking at the suburban areas, both downstate and upstate, all across the state, is the property tax problem. And the property tax cap is a great way to help keep our property taxes in check. Now, don't forget, Liz, that this is, of course, we're going to have to continue the fight. And you know who I've been fighting with for the past 6 months or longer. It's been the teachers union.
Yep.
And they seem to be a real stumbling block. But if by exempting the big 5, I can't imagine why the UFT, for instance, which is primarily a New York City teacher union, would have any opposition to a property tax cap. It wouldn't affect them. And so what we need to do now is work together, get a property tax cap passed. We should be doing these other things, the SUNY program, a great bill. Hopefully we can get that done as well and move this thing finally to completion.
Now, okay, before we get to there, because it doesn't appear that there's going to be any movement this week on the revenue bill that you're speaking of that has, again, the governor put in his newest bill. It wasn't even accepted by either your House or the Assembly. They say, we've got our own bill, thanks very much. The teachers union, some of your colleagues have said to me privately, now you guys have passed a property tax cap, have said, it's all well and good when it's a one-house bill, but when it comes time to do the deal, we don't want to anger the teachers union in an election year either. So you actually, isn't it possible, could be fighting against some of your own colleagues when push comes to shove?
You know me, Liz. I have a reputation of being a very independent senator.
You do.
I listen to my constituents. I have principles and I have independence, and I'm willing to stand up, not just to my opponents, but also to my colleagues when I think something is right. And having a property tax cap is very important. It's going to be time for all of us, both Republicans and Democrats, Assembly members and senators, to finally put a yes or no vote in both houses for a property tax cap. And I'm hopeful that my colleagues will do the right thing, and that's pass a property tax cap, both in the Senate and the Assembly.
Okay, so the death of a senator on the other side of the aisle, Tom Morahan, appears to have derailed the likelihood here that the Senate will return to Albany this week, because he's going to have a wake, he's going to have a funeral on Saturday, the wake will go on from Wednesday to Friday. When will your House come back? Are you getting any insight from the leadership on that? And if they do, will anything pass?
I haven't gotten any insight. Obviously, this is a very sad time for the Morahan family and really for the entire Senate body. Tom Morahan, you know him. I worked closely with him since I got into the Senate. Was really a class act, a true gentleman, somebody who's going to be missed. I remember, a few months ago in his, really his last days and being in the Senate, just having during a break to sit with him and talk to him. And he really pulled me aside as one of the younger members of the New York State Senate and said, notwithstanding all that goes on here, don't ever forget your family. Don't ever forget where you come from. And I'm really going to miss him. I think that we need to respect his family and respect, the process and going on here. But I also know that Senator Morahan deeply wanted us to come together, hopefully as a united legislature with the governor to finally fix this problem we have with our budget and get it done. So I haven't, had any conversations with our leadership. I don't know what our timetable is, but what I do know is we need to get this done, not just for our constituents, but also for Tom.
Well, we will be checking back with you. Of course, I'm probably not going to be seeing you in Albany this week, but thanks very much for your time tonight, Senator Craig Johnson. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Liz. Have a great evening.